Understanding emotions. Emotions are a natural part of our lives and can impact our decision-making process. They can drive us to take action or make us feel like we are paralyzed. Understanding emotions is the first step in learning how to balance them. Emotions are not good or bad, and they are not something we can control. However, we can control how we react to them. One of the most important things to remember about emotions is that they are temporary. No matter how strong an emotion feels, it will eventually pass. It is important to acknowledge and accept the emotion rather than trying to suppress it. Once we accept the emotion, we can start to work on balancing it. It is also important to recognize that everyone experiences emotions differently. What may be a small trigger for one person could be a significant trigger for another. This means that there is no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to balancing emotions. The connection between thoughts and emotions. Our thoughts and emotions are closely connected. The way we think about a situation can impact how we feel about it. For example, if we think positively about a situation, we are more likely to feel positive emotions. On the other hand, if we think negatively about a situation, we are more likely to feel negative emotions. When it comes to balancing emotions, it is important to pay attention to our thoughts and challenge any negative thoughts we may have. One way to do this is to ask ourselves if our thoughts are based on facts or assumptions. If they are based on assumptions, we can try to reframe our thoughts and look for evidence to support them. Another way to balance emotions is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness involves being present in the moment and observing our thoughts without judgment. By practicing mindfulness, we can become more aware of our thoughts and emotions and learn to let them go without getting caught up in them. Practical tips for balancing emotions. There are many practical tips that can help us balance our emotions. Here are a few. Exercise regularly. Practice relaxation techniques such as deep breathing and meditation. Get enough sleep. Eat a healthy diet. Engage in activities that bring you joy. It is also important to have a support system. This could be friends, family, or a therapist. Having someone to talk to can help us process or provide us with a different perspective. Accepting emotions. As mentioned earlier, accepting our emotions is an important step in balancing them. Instead of trying to suppress our emotions, we should acknowledge and accept them. This does not mean that we have to act on our emotions, but it does mean that we should allow ourselves to feel them without judgment. One way to accept our emotions is to practice self-compassion. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend. When we practice self, we are less likely to judge ourselves for our emotions and more likely to accept them. It is important to remember that accepting our emotions does not mean that we are condoning them. It simply means that we are acknowledging their existence and allowing ourselves to feel them without judgment. The importance of self-care. Self-care is an important part of balancing emotions. When we take care of ourselves, we are better equipped to handle our emotions. Self-care can involve anything that makes us feel good, whether it's taking a bubble bath, going for a walk, or reading a book. Self-care is not selfish. In fact, it is necessary for our mental and emotional well-being. When we take care of ourselves, we are better able to take care of others. Self-care can also involve setting boundaries. It is important to know our limits and to communicate them to others. When we set boundaries, we are less likely to become overwhelmed and more likely to maintain balance in our lives. The role of gratitude. Gratitude is an important aspect of balancing emotions. When we focus on what we are grateful for, we are less likely to get caught up in negative emotions. Gratitude can help us shift our perspective and see things in a more positive light. One way to cultivate gratitude is to keep a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things that you are grateful for. This can be anything from the sun shining to spending time with loved ones. By focusing on what we are grateful for, we can train our brains to look for the positive in any situation greater than. The importance of boundaries. Boundaries are an important part of balancing emotions. When we set boundaries, we are able to protect our emotional well-being. Boundaries can involve anything from saying no to extra commitments to limiting our exposure to negative people. It is important to communicate our boundaries clearly to others. When we communicate our boundaries, we are less likely to feel resentful or overwhelmed. Setting boundaries can be challenging, especially if we are used to saying yes to everything. However, when we set boundaries, we are able to prioritize our emotional well-being and maintain balance in the power of talk. Positive self-talk can help us balance our emotions. When we talk to ourselves in a positive way, we are more likely to feel positive emotions. Positive self-talk involves using kind, compassionate language when speaking to ourselves. One way to practice positive self-talk is to identify negative self-talk and challenge it. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," challenge that thought by asking yourself if it is based on fact or assumption. If it is based on assumption, reframe the thought into something positive such as, "I am capable and deserving of success." Practicing positive self-talk takes time and effort, but it can have a significant impact on our emotional well-being. The importance of seeking help. While there are many practical tips for balancing emotions, sometimes we need additional support. It is important to know when to seek help from a mental health professional. If you are experiencing persistent negative emotions, difficulty functioning in daily life, or thoughts of self-harm, it is important to seek help from a mental health professional. Therapy can provide a safe, non-judgmental space to process emotions and develop coping strategies. It is important to remember that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Learning to balance emotions is an ongoing process. It requires self-awareness, self-compassion, and the willingness to try new things. By practicing practical tips such as exercise, self-care, and positive self-talk, we can develop the skills to balance our emotions and improve our overall well-being. Remember, there is no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to balancing emotions. It is important to find what works for you and to be patient with yourself along the way.